Hamas militants rushed into Israel from the Gaza Strip in an unheard-of surprise attack, launching a coordinated multi-pronged assault that resulted in the murder and kidnapping of Israelis. With Israel promising more response, the dispute has the potential to worsen even further. Around Re'im in the Negev desert, Hamas militants opened fire on and kidnapped attendees of the Supernova dance music event. It's been decades since the Israeli-Palestinian conflict escalated so bloodily. Hamas, a militant organization, launched its offensive on Saturday morning under the name Operation Aqsa Storm, firing a volley of missiles from Gaza and then sending men across the border. Latest news from Israel and Gaza. As more than 1,000 Palestinian targets are hit, gunmen are still on Israeli soil. Hamas unleashed a fierce volley of rockets that struck sites as far away as Ashkelon, Jerusalem, and Tel Aviv. Huge black smoke plumes could be seen rising from several Israeli towns, cities, and villages such as Rehovot and Rishon LeZion. Israeli land was deeply penetrated by rocket assaults. Hamas fighters used trucks, automobiles, scooters, paragliders, boats, and foot to enter into Israel as the rockets fell. Israeli villages and military installations were under siege for hours when gangs of gunmen overran army bases and broke into border regions. Hamas targeted a number of events, including a dance music festival that drew thousands of people to the desert near Gaza. Before the incident in the early hours of Saturday, social media footage of individuals dancing was posted. Palestinian militants opened fire on concert-goers while hiding behind a flurry of rockets. Several were taken hostage on motorbikes. At the Supernova dance music festival in the Negev desert, close to Re'im, Hamas terrorists opened fire and kidnapped attendees. At least 260 people lost their lives during the Supernova celebration in the southern region of the nation, close to Re'im. In addition, Hamas asserts that since the offensive began, it has kidnapped and transported over 130 Israeli citizens, including women, children, and the elderly, into Gaza, in violation of international humanitarian law. Israel's military response, which includes its heaviest ever bombardment of Gaza, while it mulls a ground invasion of the region it withdrew from over 2 decades ago after 38 years of occupation, might result in a protracted hostage crisis, and is complicated by this. 2.5 million Palestinians live in the small Gaza Strip, which is under Hamas's authority. It claims that the conditions in Gaza under a 16-year embargo, the worst Israeli crackdown in years in the occupied West Bank, and the actions of the far-right Israeli government, which has discussed annexing Palestinian land, justify their attack. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu declared war within hours of the Hamas bombings, and Israel's military referred to the coordinated, deadly onslaught by Hamas that coincided with a significant Jewish holiday as our 9/11. After around 48 hours, the Israeli military declared on Monday that, while it was still fighting Hamas militants in some locations, it had taken back control of communities bordering Gaza. Severe fighting had been reported in the cities of Ashkelon and Sderot, as well as in a kibbutz settlement near Carmia in southern Israel. The Be'eri kibbutz, which the military had been attempting to seize from Hamas overnight, was breached by some 70 more terrorists, according to an earlier statement from the Israeli Defense Force. Additionally, it was alleged that terrorists in Kfar Aza, a kibbutz close to Gaza, were holding an Israeli family captive. Israeli Defense Forces spokesperson Lieutenant Colonel Richard Heck told reporters, "It's taking more time than we expected to get things back into a defensive security posture." Additionally, he acknowledged that there's a chance Hamas militants are still sneaking into Israel. There were just 2 last pockets of fighting instead of 7 to 8 active clashes, he said. "We have more or less stabilized control in all communities around Gaza," he continued. Given Israel's threats of increased reprisal for the unprecedented surprise attack that occurred over the weekend, the confrontation has the potential to worsen. Now there is a complete siege on the Gaza Strip. Israel has ordered a complete siege of the Gaza Strip, which would deprive residents of gasoline, electricity, and food. In an effort to destroy any remaining Hamas combatants in southern towns, Israeli forces have stepped up their shelling of the Gaza Strip, resulting in 100 to 200 deaths and thousands of injuries on both sides. It is reported that at least 700 people have perished in Israel, and about 500 people have died in Gaza. Gaza is currently surrounded by tens of thousands of soldiers. Roughly 300,000 reservists have been summoned by Israel, no longer employed. It is our responsibility to ensure that Hamas will not possess any military capabilities after this war, Israeli military spokesman Lieutenant Colonel Jonathan Conricus stated.